All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's MetPro Meetup. My name is Tom, and today we have a panel of coaches, and they are competitive people because the title reflects that. It's the Coaches Answer Tough Questions. And today we've got three folks with us. We've got Angelo, Jessee, and Kat. And not only are they experienced and knowledgeable, but like I said, they're competitive. So get prepared to ask them tough questions. We've already got some good tough questions that have come in from some of the folks that have registered and from some of you. I know that they're looking to spend the majority of time in Q&A, in really making this a dialogue and discussion about specific things that you want to ask. So if you do have questions, we have the chat that's open. Zoom has a raise your hand feature. I'm looking at cameras. It's great to see smiling faces. So if somebody even wants to raise their hand, we'll try to get that. So we can spend as much time in that Q&A as possible. Let me give you just some quick introductions. Angelo's founded MetPro. He's the one that devised the metabolic profiling system that has become MetPro, analyzing someone's metabolism and providing that individualized approach to obtaining wellness goals. With more than 20 years of educating people about wellness, fitness, nutrition, weight loss, he is still passionate, still energetic about body transformation science. Jessee's one of our certified coaches, has been coaching for over 15 years. And the great part is, and it really just comes through in you'll see with Jessee today, she's just as passionate about coaching today as she was on day one. And so when she's not coaching, you'll find her on a basketball court, officiating or spending time playing sports with her boys. And Kat is another one of our coaches with a pre-med background. She's an internationally ranked Olympic weightlifter turned mother. So, I mean, that's awesome. I don't know if you can be internationally ranked as a mom too. When she's not coaching with MetPro, Kat's cooking, gardening, and she's also busy in that she owns a CrossFit box in North Carolina. So three really great folks to ask questions of about nutrition, fitness, wellness, metabolism. And so to kick off the conversation, and again, if you've got questions there, those of you who've joined, type them in the chat and we'll get to those. But I know that some questions have already come in. And so I'm going to just kick off our meetup with this question for you, Angelo. Angelo, does MetPro require blood testing to develop a meal plan?
Great question. And the answer is no. MetPro does not require blood testing. So most people, when they ask this question, they're asking one of two different topics. The first is blood work as it pertains to fighting disease, managing allergies, sensitivities, or ailments. Those sorts of things we leave, of course, squarely in the hands of the medical professionals. We're lifestyle coaches, we're weight loss coaches, we're metabolism and performance experts. So to that extent that we're going to send people over to their doctor to get blood work done, but we are not opposed to blood work because always more information is always better than less information. That's typically not the forum that this question is posed in. Usually when somebody asks me this question, what they want to know is, wait a second, why don't I have to do a blood test to start a meal plan? Because they've heard, hey, you need to do blood testing to figure out if you have a sensitive metabolism, if you're carb sensitive, or if you have this issue that can cause you to lose weight slower. And the answer is, if you're talking to me, I'm already assuming you have all of those things. And what I'm going to do is figure out what triggers weight loss and then work in reverse to basically reverse engineer how we make that sustainable. A lot of times there's great programs out there that will include blood work, which, by the way, I am a fan of. And there are occasions I'll tell my client, go talk with your doctor about this or that or the other thing. But really the issue is marketing. So A blood test is going to be able to tell if you have an allergy or sensitivity to something. Is it going to reveal a massive sensitivity? In other words, are you allergic? Someone found out that they're allergic to lactose. I have been lactose intolerant my entire life. I don't need a blood test to tell me that. When I have a glass of milk, I look like I'm 6 months pregnant, and I have a bellyache for about 4 hours. So when the blood work confirmed that you're lactose intolerant, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That's good. Probably shouldn't drink milk as part of my diet. Now, my wife, she has blood work done, and what she found is that it said you have a slight sensitivity to egg whites. She had no clue. That's a great piece of info to know, but she'd had egg whites off and on. So I asked her a few weeks later, I said, do you notice any difference? And she goes, a few days ago, I had egg whites 3 days in a row, and I think I could tell a little difference. That's the difference between a sensitivity. And that's where blood work can actually tell if you have these allergies or sensitivities. What most people are looking for is there a blood test that tells me that if I eat this macronutrient ratio at breakfast, or if I eat more of this food, I'm going to lose more weight? That doesn't exist. When it does exist, MetPro will be the first to implement it. I wish it existed, but unfortunately it doesn't. And here's why it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist because there is no meal plan that causes you to lose weight ongoing. And we call that starvation. So no matter how good your meal plan is, within usually 10 to 14 days, we have to change it, especially if you're just getting started. If we've been going for a while, there may be periods we're on a similar meal plan for much longer. But initially going, you're going to get a few days out of it. And I'll give you an example of that. Have you heard this concept of slow and steady wins the race? You want to lose 2 pounds a week, talking about weight loss. Anybody heard that before? Yeah. So that's a great principle. And I agree with everything they're trying to present with that concept, but it has no bearing on reality. So if on week 5, you're losing 2 pounds, then that means that your first week on that meal plan, you probably lost about 9. And you didn't lose 9 your first week. Because the way it's going to work is when you start a meal plan that's in any scope, any realm of accurate for you, you're going to lose 3 pounds the first week. You're going to lose 2 pounds the second week, 2 pounds the third week, 1 pound the fourth week. The fifth week, you're going to plateau. That's the way it works. It's because weight loss doesn't take place in response to I'm eating the right or wrong food, or I'm sensitive or not sensitive to this. Weight loss takes place in response to whether or not your body is used to that intake. And if it's not, your body will adapt to it. Weight loss or weight gain will happen during that time interval that elapses, which, depending on the severity of the change, is usually 3 to 5 weeks. And then your metabolism acclimates to it. And then now that becomes your current stasis, homeostasis, your norm. So that's why your meal plan needs to continue to evolve. And it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's a matter of what is your body used to right now versus what's our next lever. And that's what the blood testing can't tell us. So typically, when I'm using blood testing, I'll tell you why I would encourage someone to get blood work. Usually when, hey, I'm not losing weight and it looks based on my analysis that I should be, and I'm exhausted all the time. That tells me, are we not absorbing something? Is there something going sideways? I want you to talk to your doctor, see what he says, she says about blood work. Here's where I'm not going to say go get blood work. Hey, Angelo, I've lost 35 pounds and I have 10 more to go. And I've been working on this last 10 for 6 months. I think there's something wrong. How do you feel? I feel great, never better. Unlikely the first thing that's going to pop in my mind is go get blood work. That simply means your metabolism is doing its job. It's acclimating. Again, always better to have more info than less info, but that's why it's not required to start. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set you up with a meal plan to baseline test, and I'm going to learn what causes you to lose weight, because there's only 3 possible outcomes. Here's the meal plan. If you're consistent, within a matter of days, you're either going to gain weight, you're going to lose weight, or you're going to stay the same weight, regardless of what any allergy tests, blood tests say. And so at the end of the day, we have to work backwards from here's what's actually triggering weight loss. Now, how do we evolve this into something individualized and sustainable for you? And that's where we come up with the baseline testing, the algorithm, and the progressiveness. So blood work is good. Blood work is not required.
That's good. Thank you, Angelo.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. I'm going to pose this next question to you, Jessee. Here's one. I'm injured and I can't work out. Will I still be able to lose weight?
Yes, I can answer that question. And it happens all the time. I have a few on my roster now. Yes, basically what we do at MetPro is we look at two levers for whatever your specific goals are, whether it's weight loss or performance. So we'll just say weight loss is your goal. You bummed out your toe or you hurt your foot, which I heard 3 people hurt their toes in like a week. It was crazy. It was in the moon. So yes, when I tell people that they can't exercise because of their restrictions, that makes food that much more important. So again, everybody always asks, what's more important, food or exercise? And I'm sure we all will say the same thing. They're both 100% important. So we need both of them. There's 2 levers and they're separate. And so sometimes we can pull them together. We're going to see the fastest progress. And sometimes we can only pull one. And if it's up to us, right, we know we have to eat, we're going to always go that nutrition route. So we're going to always make sure that you're fueling your body first, and then we're making sure that we're expending the energy in the right direction. But if I have a client who either can't work out because of injuries or doesn't have time, right? Because we know time's a big issue to get in the workouts and just in general. I'm more concerned if they're doing their grocery shopping. Are they doing their planning for their food? Are we pulling that nutrition lever as hard as we can, since we can't see the fitness, right? And a lot of times when we're injured, psychologically, we get down on ourselves, right? We can't move. We don't feel good. We feel fat. We feel whatever. We feel puffy. And so it's really easy to go for comfort food. So it makes it even that much more important to say, hey, you just because you can't exercise doesn't mean you need to give up on eating right and exercise. If now it's more than ever that we need to do that.
Gotcha. Thanks, Jessee.
Hope that answered it.
Yeah, no, that's good. And again, I'm just going to kind of bounce around. We got a lot of questions coming. So Kat, this one's for you. I want to put on muscle mass, but don't work out very much. Is this possible through diet only?
So that's a good question. And I've actually been asked it before. And so it is possible to put on mass through diet only. Now, if you are, depending upon your body type, you'll put on mass in a different way. So some certain body types will put on mass in a more muscular way. Certain body types will lean towards putting on mass in fat, in a storing type of way. So first of all, we're looking at what's the body type. That's the first part. Secondly, it's like, I try and explain it like we can put food into our body and we can put mass on, but I can't be like, food's going in, please direct this to my left bicep. Like if we could, we'd all be super fit, right? So it's one of those things where, yes, you can put mass on. Yes, it could potentially go to muscle mass, although the best case scenario is we're bringing food in, good food, quality food, and nothing on MetPro. I get asked this a lot because people will be in the higher phases and be like, I'm eating, I'm afraid I'm going to get fat. All the foods that are listed in the app are very specifically chosen. And the reason why they're in the app is because they are whole food or low or no processed to them. And additionally, they fall within a really specific glycemic index specific to the phase that you're in. So if you're eating the foods as you're supposed to be eating them, even if you're sitting there and you're looking at all of this food in front of you, that's not going to go into your body necessarily and turn into fat, right? Now, again, I mentioned that there is a body type that is more inclined towards storing or putting on fat. And in that case, yes, it is necessary to mold that mass, if you will. So that's why we are all nutrition, but also utilizing the training aspect of things. We're putting things in, we're putting great food in. Now we need to mold it and shape it if we want to put on mass in a very specific way. Certain people have, the necessity to put on mass for a sport, work with athletes, they need to be big. We're talking like football players, linemen, props for rugby. They need to be big people. So they are consuming a lot of calories in any given day. Additionally, they're not just consuming, it's not the old school way of just eat. I want you eating steak with mayonnaise like slathered all over it and peanut butter and wash it down with a gallon of whole milk, like the old school way. That's not okay. Clearly, we have a lot of previous football players that have suffered coronary problems. So we need to be doing it in a smart way, in a nutritional way, in a whole food way, and then also really hitting the gym and the strength program as prescribed by either an outside coach or us as one of the coaches to mold that mass in the best way possible that's going to behoove your body. Certain body types have a tendency to carry more belly fat. That's traditionally not a great thing in terms of heart health. So obviously we don't want to be a proponent of that. We want to, enforce cardiovascular activity and also utilize that strength and conditioning to mold that mass into something that we want to see. I want a bigger chest. Okay, awesome. Let's do some bench pressing. Let's do some accessory work. I need bigger legs. Great. Then we're going to need to squat. We're going to need to do lunges, right? We're going to need to do deadlifts, those things. We're not just directing sweet potatoes to our booty.
Uh,
Can we
As a
caption it?
follow-
Can we name this talk that directing sweet potatoes to our booty? I think that
I
should
wish
be
I could
named
direct
by-
some sweet potatoes to my
Yeah.
booty.
I was directing them to the biceps. I like that. I was still thinking about the power of the mind. Actually, as a follow-up question to that, Kat, and maybe or Jessee or Angelo, you talked about the different body types. Could you kind of just build on those body types and what you meant by that?
Yeah, absolutely. Angelo, you
So-
are the expert at explaining the body types in such an amazing way. I'm going to
He's so smooth.
to you.
So smooth about it,
I
right?
know.
Oh,
He'll probably say it a million times.
you like that? With that, and then Buck, you can get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
So what I encourage everyone to do is stop thinking of body types from the traditional kind of meme or marketing perspective where, you have your apple shape or your pear shape, or you have the skinny, the medium, the stocky. Though that's true, and that represents skinny, right? The ectomorphic body type, more accurately, a more petite frame, typically characterized by longer arms and legs. If they do gain weight, it's usually in their belly, not in their legs. Mesomorph is more characterized by just that medium build, and an endomorphs. Endomorphs are the ones that are usually muscular and stocky, even in junior high, and they're just bigger people. So instead of thinking that, I'm this or that, you can have traits from all three. But generally speaking, think of it as a sliding scale. So if you're more ectomorphic, so that's the side on the petite side. So the primary characteristics of an ectomorph is they typically have a faster metabolic rate, which means they have a little bit higher revving metabolism and appetite. They struggle to hold muscle on their body. They can typically lose fat a little quicker, but if they go too long without eating or don't get adequate protein at appropriate intervals, they can become catabolic and strip muscle really easy. Middle is kind of that mesomorphic body type. They're the ones where in high school they had just that right athletic physique, But then as they get into their 30s and 40s, typically, if they don't watch it, they can start to carry some extra bulk that they don't necessarily want. And then endomorphs, they're the ones that are winning all the powerlifting competitions. They're the ones that are just strong people. And then when they go to the gym, you know, muscle sticks to them. They just look at the dumbbells and they build muscle, but they can also gain body fat. So that's where you're going to see our coaches are always encouraging an extra portion of cardiovascular training for those endomorphic body types. The key is it's not one's better than the other. It's not, I want to be here. The key is, what are you? Your parents dictate that. And then recognizing that, you want to filter your strategy, both nutritionally and with your training, through that filter of understanding where you are in the spectrum of body type.
Super. Thanks, Angelo.
Yeah.
Question came in about sleep and metabolism. And the question here is, does sleep or lack thereof affect your metabolism? If I have severe sleep issues, what can I do about it? So talk to us about, and I don't know who wants to claim this one, how sleep and metabolism. Oh, yes, I see that hand. Go ahead, Jessee.
Over here. Sleep is a very important subject to talk about. Let's just start with, it all starts with your ambiance of your bedroom, right? If we don't have a room, if we don't have a space to sleep and call it a relaxing space, we are on the wrong path. So we should never work in our bedroom. You should never take your laptop to your bedroom and put it on your lap and start working away. Your brain is going to separate, relax, sleep, increase of melatonin, decrease of serotonin, all those things that are associated with getting your body ready for sleep. It's not going to be doing if you're not allowing it to do so, right? So the first things are to make sure that you have an environment to sleep as best as possible, right? Why do we need to have a good night's sleep, like the doctor says, which is 8 hours for you adults out there. So I'm sure if you're getting in 6, you're like, I'll never get 8. That's a goal. Our brain needs 8 hours of restoration. Why does it need restoration? Think of your body as in a fight or flight mode. So when we start to go to bed and we start to turn off, our body is in the moment where it gets to restore itself. It gets to shut down. It gets to repair what needs to be repaired. And in essence, it's helping that metabolism do its job. It's helping it say, okay, now metabolism, here you go. You've got all these things that you need to do. You got to repair the muscles from the workout. You got to, clean the liver out. You got all these things you got to do while they're sleeping, because when they're awake, your body's focused on getting you to move, getting you to digest, getting you to sleep, getting you to talk, getting you to do all the things you have to do during your day. And if you don't get sleep, how's your body going to do all that? Right? We're already exhausted when we wake up. That's not a good sign, right? And that's why food can be so important, because most of the time we're not sleeping well, because we're not eating well, because we're not taking care of ourselves. So if we can just eat a little bit better, we'll sleep a little bit better, and then we finally get to see that weight start dropping. So sleep, in my book, is very, very correlated. And if we don't get into that restorative mode, your body will be in that fight or flight mode, and it's not going to lose weight the right way, right? We want it to lose weight, eating fat, keeping the muscle, and all those good things. So sleep is at the top of the list to take care of yourself.
Good. Awesome. Thank you. How about this question? So, and Kat, I'm going to toss this one to you. Maybe you can take an initial shot at this, and then, Angelo or Jessee, if you want to chime in. This is a question somebody had about metabolism. So on any given day, right, we burn some number of calories simply by existing, but how does metabolism differ from burning calories? And, if you're more active or less active, how does that impact the metabolism and the amount of calories that one is burning?
Okay,
And maybe there's some definition that's required about what is metabolism and what is it to burn calories. Maybe you want to start there.
so burning calories is going to be a byproduct of the metabolism as a function in the body. Okay, so each cell has a metabolism. Your body has a metabolism, and that is to go through the cycle to break down everything that we consume, everything that's going in us that we drink. Your metabolism is creating the energy, right? And it's processing through those things. And so when we say like burning calories, well, that's the product of it. So it's not, metabolism is not only about burning calories. It's creating the energy expenditure. And we all have a metabolism, and it changes rates. That's normal for everyone. There's not like, we're not hummingbirds, like they have the fastest metabolism in the world in the animal kingdom. It's everybody has a rate, and it changes. And it's because your body always wants to come back to homeostasis. It wants to come back to basically like baseline even, right? And which is why we do the changing every 72 hours, or sometimes, even sooner if we need to. And so calories are the byproduct that are being expended. Metabolism is your cell working to process and create the energy, and it has to expend energy. Then the calories are burned. So it's all kind of like a chicken and an egg thing, right? Like, so it has to go through the entire process. And then, I'm sorry, what was the second part of the question? How does it, so calories.
Yeah, so does your metabolism change the amount of calories and activity burns? So maybe you go on a 30-minute run, say, does the metabolism change how many calories are burned off that byproduct during that time?
So you will burn more calories when you're expending more energy. And so when you're running or working out or, biking or whatever, you're expending energy. Your body is needing to process to create the energy necessary to do those functions. So then, yes, we are burning calories in order to do that. Now, I know a lot of people talk about like a resting caloric rate, a burn. So a calorie burn rate while you're resting, and increasing that by doing regular activity. And that is something that you can increase or decrease. So, for instance, steps are a big thing, like wear your Whoop or your like whatever Fitbit and track your steps and stuff like that. Okay. Well, why is that a big thing? Why does that mean anything to us? Like, it's not just like, oh, I did 10,000, Jessee, like, what are you at? Like, which, competitive people.
That is the primary reason though, right? Is to show your friends that you can do more than that.
You're the
Primarily, it's just to be on a leaderboard. but so that's important, because when we're doing more activity, then our body is not slipping into that slow rest, digest, slowing the metabolism, conserving energy, because we're not doing anything that requires energy. So when we utilize things like the steps, and we're doing like 10,000 steps a day, or, I ask my clients a lot of times, like, hey, every day, I want you to do a 20+ minute brisk walk with your spouse, with your dog, whatever, every day. Make that a habit. Why do I ask them to do that? It's not just for fun. It's because I want them to elevate that resting caloric rate burn. So I want them to be utilizing that brisk walk to kind of kick their body into that mode of expending more energy, and not like it's not tiresome to go on a 20-minute brisk walk for most people. Some of our clients, that's the upper end of their fitness. And then in which case we have to think of other creative ways to elevate that resting caloric burn. So that's why it's important to like do your steps, or, whatever it is, however you're tracking it, to get that movement in, not be so sedentary. If you think about it, our culture, our lifestyle has become extremely sedentary. It has slowed down so much. If you think about like everybody talks to their grandparents, and their grandparents walked uphill to school both ways in the driven snow. Like my parents, my family, they were cattle ranchers and dairy farmers, and they're up and moving, outside work, blue collar work, and that's not the only way to get movement in, but it was a much more active culture. And now we have lots of cool technology and other field and Zoom and pandemics and other things happening, where we are inside, we're not moving as much, we're sitting more, we're not getting all of the movement in the day that keeps our body expending a constant stream of energy. And it keeps the body expending energy, and then we go do a workout and it peaks, and then expending some more energy because we're being active and we're moving around and whatnot. And then when we're not moving around and we're just living normal life, cleaning your home or whatever, then your body's in that mode of expending or utilizing more of those calories, right? And now we just sit or type or sit inside with a mask on, so it's tough. You got to get out and do stuff and get back into that habit of creating movement and living life instead of sitting life, so it is hugely important to get that activity in to elevate the caloric burn and help to facilitate a healthier metabolism.
So I guess I'm a little disappointed. I thought hopping from Zoom call to Zoom call to Zoom call was some sort of exercise, but apparently not.
It
It
can
should
help
be.
your heart rate, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Fast finger.
Yeah, no, thank you, Kat. Another question came in. Do clients ever get their body fat tested? And is this even necessary? So, Angelo, I'm going to punt that one to you. Do clients get their body fat tested, and is this necessary?
Yes, they do. Lots of times. And as coaches, we love it when somebody has access to an actual high quality testing apparatus, there's a whole bunch of them on the market, or they can go to places and actually do something high level, bod pod, hydrostatic weighing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Who? That's really the question, who and when. And so you might be surprised, typically, if somebody is more obese and has more weight to lose, I'm not really concerned with it. Because I know whatever number we see, it's too high. And, a lot of people will say, well, yeah, but I'm losing inches, and that flies. That's great. Johnny, he's 6'1", he's 230 pounds, and he's losing inches, and great. I'm all for it, Johnny. But if, Bobby is, 5'7" and 360 pounds, I don't want to hear I'm losing inches. He needs to lose weight on the scale. So that's the first thing I'm going to look at. Where that becomes a little bit more critical is where somebody is actually pretty close to optimal, and they want a way to track and analyze. And so now our coaches track and analyze, because we're going to actually look at you. We're going to have you send progress photos, et cetera, to whatever degree you're comfortable with. But it's nice to have a hard number where you can say, okay, my body's at this spot where it's not giving up. My weight isn't fluctuating a whole lot. Maybe it's not supposed to. We're not aiming for that. What we're aiming for is that body composition. So the scale can lie in those cases, but those machines typically won't. But here's a little tip. Neither will the mirror. The mirror won't lie. You'll look in the mirror. And have you ever had this happen? If anybody's done diets, workout programs, they've woken up, looked in the mirror, felt good, then stepped on the scale, and then it ruined their day. Their day. The scale can lie. The mirror doesn't. The mirror tells the truth. And I see this sometimes with people with recovering from either an injury or something that unexpected with their health. You can be fit and in shape at a pretty significant spectrum of sizes and weights. And you can be out of shape at a pretty significant spectrum of sizes and weights. And so that's where, of course, having a strategy to make sure that you stay progressive on all fronts is very useful. And yeah, measuring your body fat along the way is great. Don't start getting in the habit of doing it every 2 weeks. But every several months would be excellent, depending on what cycles, when you start a cutting cycle or when you're at the top of a metabolic revving cycle, those are great times to bookmark and go, okay, let's see where we're at now. So I'm a big fan.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Angelo.
Yeah.
Jessee, I'm going to give you a question here that came in. I don't eat very much and can't lose weight. What is my problem? Which
You just answered it. You don't eat enough. So I will tell you that if I hear a new client coming to me and one of the biggest questions is, what have you been doing? And if it's, well, I haven't been eating carbs and I eat maybe one meal a day and it's at night and it's a salad and I'm hungry and I'm tired and I just don't know what's going on. Your body's running on fumes, baby. So we got to get it burning. So I will definitely say that I will make it as easy as possible to get them to eat as much as possible that's comfortable to them. So I have some clients that, their normal intake is 500 calories and maybe 30 grams of carbs. And for those of you that are familiar, we start you at 125 grams of carbs and over 1,200 calories. So we're not messing around when we say your body needs fuel. That's a substantial difference from 500 to 1,200 calories. And 1,200 calories is as low as you should go. That's like the general standard, if you will, of what your body needs to survive. So if we can use that as the baseline and say, okay, well, our programs are going to have that on the low end of the spectrum, and then we're going to go up from there. And then we're going to teach the body how to burn a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And then, sure, you really like eating less? Great, we'll get there, because I have some clients that I'm like, okay, I'm only going to give you more food for 3 weeks, and then I'll take it away, I promise. Even though they don't want to eat any of it in the first place, I got to say, eat it now, I'll take it away, it'll be okay. And every time we do this cycle, and every time they get those carbs in their system, they get a little bit more acclimated. It's not as bad. It doesn't feel as much, right? And so we can see that, as we've talked about, the body's going to adapt. And so our primary focus for those clients is not going to be on the scale. It is going to be to fix their metabolism, fix their body's ability to burn fuel, and then say, now we're in a great spot. You slept well, you feel great, your energy's stable at 3 p.m. when you want to crash and take a nap or have a cookie, right? All those things that maybe you don't think about now because they're not symptoms anymore to your issue. And so then that's when we're, okay, now we're in a good spot. Let's lose weight. So not always do we get to lose weight. If we could, we wouldn't have a job.
That's what we're working towards.
Yeah, trust me, I would like to retire.
goal is to work ourselves out of a job. Absolutely. Kat, question for you. These are great questions, by the way, coming in. I'm getting them from different sources, so this is super. I love that you're asking these. Here's one that came in, and this is for you, Kat, and then I bet you Angelo and Jessee, you guys might have some other thoughts too, so I'm curious. But starting with you, Kat, what do you believe is the best exercise for weight loss? Examples, steady state, cardio, HIIT, strength training, and how does your body type determine the best exercises?
Okay, so that's kind of an ask and answer. So the best type of workout for weight loss is going to be dependent upon your body type. And I'm going to go ahead and say that there is not a best type. There's an optimal combination. And so, Angelo spoke earlier about the different body types. So looking at an ectomorph, right? Like, so we're looking at more, weight loss is really not the primary goal, right? We want to reshape. It's kind of, maybe there is some weight loss, but really I think of it more as a composition change. So I feel like you know, we're going to do a little combination of some steady state. We're going to do a combination of some strength training to build that lean muscle mass. So we've got that great like burn going. If we're doing like a mesomorph, that's somebody that's naturally inclined to be pretty balanced, right? People are always like, my mesomorphs are always my clients. I own a CrossFit gym. They're all mesomorphs, right? And I will say, I own a CrossFit gym, and it is not the best exercise for weight loss if you're a mesomorph. Now, if you want to be strong and you want to be, you know, the weight loss is not the primary concern, and we're looking, you know, at aesthetics in a different way, maybe not in not such a balanced way, then great. CrossFit's great. Cross training's great. But if you are looking for actual weight loss and you're a mesomorph, then, you know, cross training is only going to be sprinkled in there a little bit because your body knows it. It likes it. It wants to be a little, you know, square. Like it's the girls, and I can say this because I'm a mesomorph, where it's like, I don't have hips. Like my hips or my waist or my torso is, you know, my chest to my biceps and shoulders. Like it's, so we have to create a different kind of definition or illusion of shape by doing some, you know, strength training to taper the waist in, for the upper body, you know, strength training in the booty to like make, you know, the legs and the base a little bit bigger. So then we have a large upper and a large lower. We've got a thin looking inner, you know, so it's going to be dependent upon the actual body type itself. And HIIT is great. And then second to the body type, it's also this, what are you going to do? You know, like with a lot of my clients are like, well, what's the best thing for me to do? Okay, well, I could definitely tell you what's going to be the optimal kind of combination of workouts, but is that feasible for you? Is it feasible for you to do a HIIT workout? Like, are you going to go cycle for an hour? And then like, are you going to go to a gym and do strength training? Do you have access to these things? Is your gym open? Are you somebody that comes from a background of working out where you feel totally comfortable and confident and you're going to go crush it? Or are you somebody that's like, I'm really determined to lose weight, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable and competent in a gym setting or on a bike or, you know, whatever, or I have zero background of working out. Like I just don't work out. I had a gentleman the other day as a client, and all he wants to do is put on muscle, and he literally does not know how to work out. He's in his 30s. He was never taught to work out. He doesn't know how to work out. He doesn't work out. He's very hesitant to go into a gym. He doesn't know what to do. I could tell him, you know, what the optimal thing is for him to do for his goals, but he doesn't feel comfortable doing it. And I'm not there with him. So as a strength coach, I don't feel comfortable just saying like, all right, this is what we're going to do. You're going to go bench and you're going to go do this and that. And like, hope you don't die. So, you know, like as a good coach, I have to be like, okay, what makes sense for your lifestyle? What is going to make sense safety wise? Movement. I'm a huge proponent of all movement is good movement, and all movement is going to help you in some way, shape, or form. HIIT workouts are great. Most people have access to a YouTube channel or, you know, our app HIIT workouts or another, you know, app HIIT workouts. They're super easy. Most of the time they're body weight only. And so you can just do them wherever and it doesn't matter. You don't have to have equipment. So that's great. And if that fits your lifestyle, yes, it's the best thing for you to do to lose weight. If you are not somebody that has knees to run on, my brother played rugby forever and ever and ever. He was a prop. His knees are blown out. He has to have both replaced. He's a young guy. I could be like, yeah, Matt, I want you to go run because, you know, that's what you need to do. You need to do some steady state running. He's not going to run. It's going to crush his knees. It's going to hurt him. You know, he's not going to do that. So that's not me being a good and mindful coach and serving his needs. So we are going to find something else for him to do. And maybe all he can handle right now is a 15-minute HIIT workout. Then yes, that's going to be the best thing for him to lose weight. other people, they need to create that lean muscle mass in order to facilitate that burning effect. The thermogenesis, the weight loss is going to come off that way. And so then I will ask them to invest in some dumbbells or a kettlebell if they feel comfortable, if the gyms aren't open, or go to a gym, hit some classes. I have a gentleman that works out with his son, and it's their bonding time, and his son is not a client, but he is, and I've written him a strength program, and he's doing his strength program with his son, and it's bonding time, and he's losing tremendous amounts of weight and just shaping up and crushing it. He's also improving his familial life, and that's what he likes to do. So it goes beyond just the lens of fat burning. I know a lot of us coaches, when we get to the cut, we will encourage people to do cardio, steady state cardio. Just hit it. Nothing that's going to be overly taxing to your central nervous system or overly taxing to your body. We just want that steady state fat burning heart rate where, you're spending time out on the pavement or on your bike or on your rower, whatnot, to facilitate the cut. If that's not something that's possible, though, we have tons of clients that we've all worked with. Okay, cool. I want you to stand up every time there's a commercial. I just want you to stand up. Every time there's a commercial, I want you to stay seated in your seat, and I want you to march your feet 12 times, or every time there's a commercial, if you're doing something, I want you to do arm raises or, big arm swings. Sometimes that's our clientele, and that is the best thing for them to burn fat or lose weight. That's what they're working with, right? So there's not a one single answer. Yes, it does go back to your body type in terms of us prescribing the optimal combination. Absolutely. But it also tremendously takes into account your lifestyle, your experience, your comfortability, your safety, and what are you going to commit to? I mean, I can write you a very lengthy strength and conditioning program, but if you're not going to commit to it, then there's no point. If you're going to do it for a day, that's not going to help me or you. So being able to be realistic about where we are, and live in that space and in that area, being able to commit to things. Yes, of course, as coaches, we're going to push you 100%. We're going to push you, but we are also very mindful of what's realistic. I'm not going to tell my client who's never done anything all right, I want you to sign up for a half marathon Saturday and you're going to hit it. That's not good coaching. So it takes into account a lot of factors. And I don't know if I answered or just made it worse. Hopefully there was some helpful information in there.
Open the door even more.
I know, right? Sorry.
I think it's a good answer. It's not we tend to be reductionist. I think, well, I want to get it simple, but the reality is it's not always a simple answer, right? And there are all those factors, especially in a time of COVID, like you mentioned. Is the gym even open? And the example you gave of, a father and son working out, and that's a motivating factor, right? So there's lots of components. So the feasibility I can see is a big piece. I think in terms of there's good, better, best, right? Sometimes, and thinking on that spectrum, really finding where that sweet spot is that ties in with the nutrition objectives and the goals.
100%. And also it's going to be where are you in your journey? So initially, if you come on board and you have a tremendous amount of weight to lose, then we're going to be okay, let's focus here. And then later down the line, when we've made some progress, then perhaps our focus is going to change and we're going to have a different combination of what we want you to do. Your body type hasn't changed, right? Your body composition may have changed, but your type hasn't changed. But where we are in the progress world and what your goals are determinants of what are we doing right then and there. So it's not going to be a constant sort of linear answer where you're always going to do this or you're always going to do that because you're a mesomorph, you're always going to do this to lose weight. That's not necessarily true.
Right. This is a question. This may be our final question for the session. Let's see. Angelo, I'm going to ask this one to you.
And yeah,
Is there any science behind intermittent fasting? And I know that has gained a lot of
I don't know
popularity.
if we do have enough time. That's the only
Okay, we'll do the 50-cent tour. The answer is yes. There's absolutely science behind it. I've seen every single diet work. So that there's science, but there's always consequence as well. So when your coach picks a strategy, they're always looking at the big picture, not just the battle, but also the war. Weight loss is always going to be this hostile negotiation between you and your metabolism. I'm going to lose 10 pounds, you say. The metabolism goes, fine, I'm going to slow down. And that's the give and take. Some strategies are more potent than others. And some strategies will also elicit a more potent response from your metabolic rate. Fasting is pretty much the most potent. Your metabolism is going to take it as the ultimate assault on it and try to compensate by slowing down. So the question is not, is there science behind it? Absolutely, there's science. It's how should it be applied? And its application can really range. There's people who don't eat certain days of the week and they eat others. Well, that's not worth talking about because that represents such a minuscule population of people that can even tolerate that. A much more common implementation is simply, I don't eat carbs after 3:30. I hear that all the time. That's a real common strategy. Well, that's actually a form of cyclical fasting. What you're doing is you're purposefully time gating your carbohydrates to impact how your body replenishes its glycogen stores. And things like that can have a lot of benefit. The thing to remember is that when most people will argue for cyclical fasting or intermittent fasting, they're usually doing so not necessarily based on a in-depth understanding of how the science actually works. A lot of the proponents will say, well, it's because when you only eat between certain hours, the hormonal scenario that takes place puts your body in line for greater fat burning. And that's not a false statement. The truism, however, is that the amount of weight you lose is most directly proportionate to the, whether intentional or accidental, restriction in calories. Like, no, I'm losing the weight because I'm eating the calories between these hours. That's not necessarily true. Take gastric bypass surgeries. Very successful. Nearly everybody who has a gastric bypass surgery loses weight. Their stomach shrinks. Ask any friend or anyone you know that's had the surgery, how do they eat? Oh, I only eat between these 3 hours. No, they just eat a few bites all day long. It's that if you eat 600 calories a day, you lose weight. I don't care whether you get 600 in one meal or you get it spread out throughout the day. You can make an argument that you might lose a tiny bit more total pounds lost by gating it within a certain group of hours, where you lose a little bit more fat doing it that way, but you're also setting your body up to be in a catabolic state. Therefore also losing a little more muscle along with it versus had you spread the calories out throughout the day. And none of those reasons are why you will not hear us often promoting it. And I say often because there are exceptions and there are times that I have had a client implement a measure of intermittent fasting. But the reason you won't hear it often is because it tends to be mutually exclusive. It doesn't play well with other strategies. If you're doing intermittent fasting, that's the strategy, and you can't pair it well with a bunch of other tools and techniques. It's kind of like in CrossFit, we do a lot of front squats. Well, is a front squat better than back squat? Not necessarily. If that a front squat translates into an Oli list, an overhead press, clean, all the other things, it translates well. When you participate in intermittent fasting, there's nothing else to do other than add those meals back in. And so what that means, and now this, of course, is just a random scenario, but it's a common one that I see. Person A participates in intermittent fasting, and I say, great, I think you're going to do well with it. Person B says, I don't think it's going to work out so well for you. Why? Because person A, I think, is going to lose 20 pounds intermittent fasting. And then when they stop, they're going to gain 5 back. Person B is going to lose some indeterminate amount of weight. And when they stop, they're going to gain 5 pounds back. With person B, I don't think that they're going to outpace the amount of weight they gain back. And why? Because spreading calories back out over just 2 or 3 meals is a lot harder to do without gaining weight. So we end up adding more meals, and most people invariably gain weight back. So the question is, if we implement this, we know there's going to be some rebound weight gain. So there has to be a really good reason to implement it. I would much rather implement a strategy where I know we're going to manipulate your calories, your carbohydrates, and you're going to only lose 3 or 4 pounds. But at the end of that, I'm going to be able to rev your metabolic rate back up, get you used to eating more with minimal or no weight gain, and then repeat that process over and over again. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't times for an intermittent fasting approach. The times that an intermittent fasting approach are applicable is when it's helping to manage a habit that we're better suited by time gating. But again, there's lots of ways to implement. So I know we're running out of time, but the last 60 seconds, I'll give an example. I had a client who got up really early in the mornings, and then he would do his workout about 5:30 in the morning. He would eat breakfast before his workout, then he would do his workout, and then he would eat all day long, and he was ravenous. By 11:30, he had to be on his 4th meal because he had such an appetite. That's unique to him, and that's the way it was. So by the end of the day, even though he was eating clean, he was eating a large amount of calories spread out throughout the day. So for this client, I said, we're going to change things up. I want you to sleep in an extra half hour in the morning. And what we're going to do is we're going to move your workouts to the afternoon right after lunch. And so you're not going to have breakfast until 9:30 or 10. That represented swinging his breakfast by 4 or 5 hours. So he had his breakfast at about 9:30, 10. Then he had his snack, his lunch. He worked out, and he was good. He could have snack, dinner, and the net result was we were able to get him to lose weight. That's a scenario where it actually worked in our advantage. So it's never a matter of good or bad. It's a matter of understanding the science behind the trigger. What's triggering the weight loss? And is that something that is a logical next step for you? So to in brief answer the question, there's absolutely science behind intermittent fasting. And I will direct my clients to use a different science if at all possible for the reasons that we just stated.
Great. Yeah. Thank you, Angelo.
Sure.
I see a great combination of intermittent fasting with sleeping. So sleep is important. You get to fast during that time when you sleep. So no, it's
Right.
not exactly the same, but it's one and the same. Well, that was great, everyone. I really do appreciate Angelo, Kat, Jessee, everything that you shared there. And thanks for all the great questions, those that shared up front in email or here in the chat or otherwise. It was very, very helpful. So we'll be sharing this, and we've got an email that'll go out tomorrow that will announce the next MetPro Meetup with the recording to today's for any information you might want to review. So thanks, everyone, and we'll hopefully see you next week. Bye-bye.